You're listening to The Wedding Whisperer with Sarah Burton of Simply Love Studio in Lexington, Kentucky. I'm back today with Antonia Hansford from City BBQ. She is the wedding event specialist for Central Kentucky and Southern Indiana. And while she doesn't actually cover any stores in the Southern Indiana area, they actually cater there too. Antonia, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me, and I'm excited to talk with you.
This is actually your third time on the podcast. You were one of my first guests. I was so excited to chat with you. And then City BBQ did a huge giveaway maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago now. We talked all about that and encouraged everyone to enter for that. But I think somebody in the northern U.S. won that.
Grand Rapids is where they won it. And ironically, they actually just did that wedding a few weeks ago. So we're just starting to get pictures and videos rolling in from that. And it was a beautiful event and just super excited for that couple because they really enjoyed it.
I was crossing my fingers that one of your couples was going to win.
Me too. But I've heard that they may do another win a wedding in the future. So stay tuned.
All right. Well, we will do another podcast whenever that happens so we can tell everybody about it. Let's talk a little bit about your role with City BBQ. You are the wedding event specialist.
Yes.
For folks that are listening that are just new in the planning process or haven't done anything with catering yet, tell them what that means. Tell them what a wedding event specialist is in City BBQ world.
Of course. So it is actually a pretty unique position, especially in the world of restaurant caterers. So my whole job is just 100% of my time is devoted to being at the service of City BBQ's brides, grooms, and their families. I help them put their order together. I help them get booked. I send them reminders. I help keep them organized. I help put final details together on the order, like a catering timeline, and then final payments. And I also serve as their point of contact on the day of. So in short, I hold their hand through the entire process. I walk them all the way through from beginning to end, and really just designed to make it a more smooth, seamless catering planning process for them.
And barbecue has definitely become more popular in the last few years as a wedding food. And I used to always mention barbecue, and couples were like, we don't really want pork at our wedding. But barbecue is so much more than that. And City BBQ has so much more than that. What are more of the meats if they don't necessarily want like sliced pork or pulled pork at their wedding?
Absolutely. I have a lot of clients who come to me for whatever reason. They don't like pork. They don't want pork. And we've got plenty of options other than that. So our most popular meat has got to be the beef brisket. It is, it's an award-winning smoked meat, and it's kind of what City BBQ is known for. So if you've never had the chance to try it, definitely have to try that out. We've also got smoked turkey, 3 different kinds of chicken: bone-in chicken, pulled chicken, smoked fried chicken wings. And then we've also got other options that sometimes people don't expect in the vegetarian realm. We have pesto veggie pasta. We have black bean burgers. Really, the options are much greater than just pork.
You can cover everybody regardless of if they're vegetarian or if they like meat.
Correct.
A lot of times, couples don't think about restaurants as caterers in general. We actually have a lot of restaurants here in Lexington, and not just barbecue, that offer catering service. And a lot of them are different than your traditional caterer that you would think of as like Bayou or Type A. And you will offer like a drop-off service and a little bit more casual if they don't want a full service. But you offer all types, essentially. And that's one of the benefits of going with City BBQ. You do offer those different options. Walk me through the different types and like levels of service that you offer.
Of course. So we've got 3 tiers of service. So 3 different service levels, and they all hit at a different look and feel. And they also hit at a different price point, depending on what folks' budgets are. Our first service level is the delivery and setup. And It is exactly what that name sounds like. So we bring it on site, we set up the whole buffet, and it is completely ready to use before we leave. But once we get everything set up, we hit the road and we leave the rest to you. And this is a really great service level for folks who are having a smaller event, a more casual event, or if you already have staff, whether that comes with your venue or you've hired them, if you've already got staff that's willing to do the service portion for your catering, that's a great service level for you. Our middle tier service level, I usually call this the Goldilocks service level because it's a little bit of the other two. And this one's called the City Classic. So, this is where we bring our standard buffet setup, the same one that you would get with delivery and setup, but this one also comes with staff on site. So, staff are going to set up the buffet. They will manage it, keep it clean and full while your guests go through, bus tables, take out trash, pack up your leftovers, and do all of the cleanup. So they break down the buffet and then they'll also fulfill any cleaning duties that your venue may have. And then our top tier service level is the City Signature. And this is the one that we bring out all the bells and whistles. We bring the cast iron display with glass jars, wood pieces, signage for all of the buffet items. And so it's really an upgraded buffet display. But now it also comes with some additional perks. It's also going to come with upgraded plates, napkins, and utensils. The plastic ones that look nicer, and it is also going to come with complimentary cake cutting if that is something that you need. So having those additional services in there on top of that upgraded buffet display makes it really a unique kind of special offering that we do that definitely brings us up closer to those more traditional caterers. And then, of course, you've got all the way down to just a delivery and setup if you need that. So it can really cover all different kinds of events.
Which one of those do you say you do the most often?
I would certainly say the City Classic and the City Signature are the two that we do the most often for wedding events, mainly because they both come with staff on site, right? So this means that you're not going to have family members or anything like that do any cleanup. You don't have to lift a finger with either one. But I would say that the City Signature probably squeaks out a little bit more popular than the City Classic, just because it does have that gorgeous buffet display, has the nicer plateware, cake cutting services. So it's just a lot of value that comes with that and a more formal look, which people are generally looking for on their big day.
There's nothing wrong with if you want to do the lowest tier where it's to literally drop off and set up, but it is something that you definitely need your aunts to be in charge of, or your coworkers, or your bossy friend that is not a bridesmaid. Um, it's not just a one person job. You need to have 3 or 4 people, and depending on if it's 200 guests or more, you need 6 or 7 people to keep running, filling that, just doing all of the things. And I don't know that people realize it's not just setting out one tray of food. There's multiple that have to be changed, and it has to all be broken down, and it has to be taken care of essentially. So that is also not a job of a wedding coordinator either, or a venue coordinator. Just throw that in there.
Correct.
Um, that is something you would have to take care of on your own. So actually, I'm guessing the price difference is not huge between those. We'll come back to the price in a minute. But that is something definitely consider. That is not a DIY that I would recommend that anyone do. That's kind of one of those where we talk about the flow of your wedding day and what's important, and you being stressed out and maybe reducing your guest count so that we can make some of those things easier for you and so that you can enjoy your day more.
Absolutely. And that is part of what I do. If somebody comes to me and they say they want to do a delivery and setup wedding, and let's say they do have 200 guests, it is my job to ask the right questions, right? Oftentimes, this is the first time somebody's ever planned a wedding before, so they don't necessarily know that there's a big difference in how the flow of your day goes if you don't have staff on site for that. So asking them, who is going to be responsible for maintaining the buffet, who is going to clean up, and sometimes just asking questions like that can really let people know that maybe I'm a little out of my league here. Maybe I should go ahead and get somebody to take care of that, a professional.
And that happens a lot of times in my meetings. They're like, those are things we never thought about.
Yes.
So that's why we're asking you a million questions so that we can get to resolutions and your day is easier.
Right.
And we talked a little bit about like barbecue being one of the types of restaurants that can cater. We have several different barbecue restaurants in the Lexington area that cater. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus and run over them, but there are some that have canceled on couples the week of that you have essentially had to bail out. So anytime that I'm meeting with couples, I try to give them a heads up. This is where either working with me or working with another planner, the planners are going to kind of know these things. You want to read reviews, you want to ask questions. A lot of times pricing for barbecue is going to be very different as well. It's probably one of the biggest differences I see in catering is the different barbecue restaurants and barbecue businesses. So this is where you want to ask, what is included? Do they bring the plates and the cups and the napkins? How many staff are you going to have? Do the staff set it up? Do they serve it? Do they break it down? Do they bust the tables? These are things that Antonia can walk you through in your meeting. And two, some caterers will price it like per pound. And so when I'm over here like looking at a couple's quote, I'm like, how many people can eat on a pound of barbecue? I don't know. Um, I need you to tell me how much it is a person. So those are questions that if you get that quote back from a caterer, ask those questions. We can Google that all day long, but we want to know from that caterer exactly how many people they typically feed per pound of meat. And two barbecue quotes are something that I typically recommend putting in an Excel spreadsheet because they're sometimes that different to be able to figure out what the difference is going to be price wise per person. Sorry, I just
Absolutely.
went on a tangent there. I did not mean to do that. You talked about brisket being one of your most popular food items. Is that one of your most popular food items for weddings or just in the restaurant?
I would certainly say it's popular in both. I would have to
Okay.
say it's definitely popular in both. The with catering, the brisket is the only meat that has an upcharge associated with it. So it is $2 extra per person if you want to do brisket. And depending on your guest count, that can sometimes make a difference of what that investment looks like. And so I tell my clients all the time, they're having 250 person wedding. Of course, brisket for that many people is going to be a little bit more of an investment than if you're having a 50-person wedding. However, my job is to not only ask the right questions, but also to come up with solutions. So I tell people frequently if that upcharge is too steep for your guest count, but that is the food that you are in love with, that does not mean you have to take it off the table. It is not uncommon for traditional wedding caterers to do a special meal for the couple. So, doing brisket for the couple that's getting married or even the wedding party is going to be a much smaller investment than if you do it for your entire guest count. So, we're still not taking that off the table and we can still keep it budget friendly if somebody is kind of watching their budget pretty closely.
If a couple were to say do brisket for just their wedding party and not all of their guests, how is that served or differentiated on the wedding day?
Right. So what usually will happen is that we'll put it on the buffet for the wedding party to go through. So we'll set it up on the buffet. And then as the wedding party goes through first, obviously, they are going to have access to that brisket. And then I give the client the option. It's all about giving them options, showing them what their options are and what they want that to look like. So sometimes it looks like after the wedding party goes through, or even the first few tables that include the families, we can then just casually take that brisket right off the buffet, remove that sign, and keep going for the rest of the guests. And if there's any left over, then we can save that for the couple or their family. However, sometimes people opt to just let that brisket be out there until it is completely gone. And if that is the option that they decide to go with, then we will absolutely leave that brisket out there until it has been demolished. And then, same deal, take it off the buffet, and then kind of just keep going with the other two menu options.
If the extra $2 is out of the budget for the couple to pay for the brisket per person, what would you say are the next two most popular meats that you serve?
Certainly, pulled pork is definitely the next most popular option. I think it's what people just associate with barbecue. And then once they come to a tasting and they get to taste the pulled pork, it is quite delicious. It is not like any other pulled pork that you've ever had. So we pull it fresh on site most of the time if we're having staff on site. So it is a very, very delicious version of pulled pork. And then I would say the next popular option is going to be one of our chicken options. Pulled chicken certainly used to be the most popular, but I have seen a big transition to the bone-in chicken being very popular
Okay.
because it looks gorgeous on a plate. It gives that look of a plated dinner, but the chicken is hot, it is fresh, it is delicious. It becomes more of a fork and knife meal, which feels more formal. It feels more dressed up for such a special occasion.
Let's talk about some of the new things that you have on your menu. We know you have the green beans. Um, you've always had mac and cheese. Trying to think, you've had your salads, mashed potato. You have mashed potatoes, don't you?
Yes. Not in the
Okay, I thought so.
restaurant.
You have your cornbread, which I'm obsessed with. It's literally my favorite cornbread. And you have like your garlic toast. And no, it probably has a different name.
Texas toast is what we call
Texas
it.
toast, yeah. I like the Texas toast and the brisket together myself. You have made some changes to a couple of things and you've added some things. And I saw that your mac and cheese has been changed, and I am quite concerned about that. So I need a little bit of reassurance that things are going to be okay.
Absolutely. So we'll start with the mac and cheese, because it is the newest change slash addition. So I think City Barbecue has always tried to keep their mac and cheese recipe pretty simple. And that's because a great mac and cheese does not need to be overly complicated. You do not need to add a bunch of stuff to a mac and cheese for it to be delicious. So it should be warm, it should be creamy, it should be cheesy, comforting, it should taste like home. And that's what makes a good mac and cheese. So when they told me that they were changing the recipe, I'm right there with you. I was also concerned because that is what our old mac and cheese definitely was. However, the baked mac and cheese is, I think, a perfect cross between still keeping it that simple, homey, southern mac and cheese, but with just a little bit of improvement because it is now a baked mac and cheese. And if you've ever had a baked mac and cheese, especially homemade baked mac and cheese at Thanksgiving or at a family dinner or the holidays, you know that a good baked mac and cheese just can't be beat. And I have been very, very impressed. And I've gotten nothing but glowing reviews from our new recipe. And anybody who has not gotten to taste the new baked mac and cheese, City Barbecue does samples, like free samples. So feel free to go into your nearest City Barbecue restaurant and ask to taste the new baked mac and cheese recipe. They'll gladly hand you one over, no questions asked, so that you can try that out.
How did I not know this?
I don't know how you didn't know this. You can do that with anything on the menu.
I had no idea. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then you have recently added taco bars as well. You have a queso because taco bars, probably the last 2 to 3 years, have become super popular with weddings, and you got so many requests for those. Tell me a little bit about your taco
Of
bars.
course. So we did add taco bars, but we also added nacho bars and chips and queso bars as well. And you're so right. These have been very, very popular for weddings and in for catering in general. So our taco bars are, of course, tortillas. You get two different kinds of meat, and then a bunch of toppings. So we're getting things like chipotle ranch, pickled onions, a homemade pico, barbecue sauce, because of course, creamy slaw, which if you've never had creamy slaw on a taco, don't knock it till you try it. It's wonderful.
Okay.
So lots and lots of different taco toppings for you to dress your taco the way you want. And I think the biggest piece of feedback that I've gotten from our clients and why they sometimes end up going with a barbecue taco bar over sometimes a more traditional taco bar is because of the ability to customize it. When you're getting a more traditional taco, it's kind of already mixed up. It's a kind of already made. There's a certain flavor profile that that person is going for. So you either like it or you don't. Whereas taco bar from a barbecue place, you get those great smoked meats, you put it in a tortilla, and it can be as plain or as loaded as you would like. So, again, this is able to accommodate so many different people, and depending on how you like your tacos. And then the nacho bars have been a really big hit as well, especially for things like cocktail hour or late night snacks. And the nacho bars come with queso, of course, chips, and then all of the toppings as well. So we're still talking about different things like jalapenos, the chipotle ranch, barbecue sauce, pickled onions, things like that, so that you can dress your nacho bar up. And you even have the option to add meat to the nacho bar. So you can do nachos without meat, you can do nachos with meat, just really kind of customize it for exactly what you want.
And you have nachos in the store now as well. I got that not long ago, and I'm the person I don't like my food touching, which I know is really weird to say with nachos. So I had like the chips, the queso, and the meat, and I think the onions and everything else. I was like, I need it in little like containers because I want to try it all, but I don't want it all poured on there together. So I'm the one that likes everything basic and let me put all my food together.
Absolutely. And you can do the exact same thing for catering and be able to build it exactly how you want it.
And you mentioned cocktail hour. I know that you also can do like charcuterie and cheese and fruit and vegetables. I don't think people realize that. I will have couples be like, "Oh, we can get trays from somewhere. We can DIY that." I'm like, Antonia can take care of that too.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got cheese and cracker boards, veggie trays, fruit trays, and the way that we kind of assemble them all together, it definitely comes out looking very much like a grazing table or a charcuterie board. And then people also have the option to add meats to that as well. I've seen people do smoked sausage coins with those items, and I've also seen people do the chicken wings with those items. So it really kind of just creates this very colorful, inviting array of different pretty foods for your guests to snack on. And you're right, people do not automatically assume that we can do stuff like that, especially with as pretty as they turn out. But definitely ask for some pictures of our appetizer tables, because they definitely are up there with some of the caterers who just do appetizer tables. They can rival some of them with the way they
Absolutely.
turn out looking. So it's actually secretly one of our favorite parts of catering weddings is getting to do
Okay.
designs on those appetizer tables, because
Hmm.
it's all about creativity, making it pretty, making it inviting, and we love getting to flex our creative muscles a little bit.
Now, had I have not had your smoked sausage at the Bridal Bliss Classic bridal show last year, I probably would have made a face when you said that and been like, "Ooh, who puts smoked sausage with their charcuterie and their cheese boards and stuff?" It was actually really good, and that's not something I would have ever tried on my own, but it was at the bridal show. It was literally on a toothpick, and I was like, "Oh, this is actually really good." And then all of the vendors were in the back once it was over. It was like, "Do you have any of that left?"
Yes, absolutely. It's kind of, if you think about a more traditional charcuterie board, like you've got the things like salamis and pepperonis and other cured meats. So it kind of has a barbecue spin on it with doing like a smoked sausage, but it kind of replaces that part of what a charcuterie board would be.
If somebody has never tried City BBQ before and they're like, "This all sounds amazing. How do I try it for my wedding? How do I come into the restaurant?" So you have 2 restaurants currently in Lexington. Do you have 2 in Louisville or 1 in Louisville?
Two in Louisville.
You have 2 in Louisville. And then I've heard rumor that we're getting a third one in Lexington. Can you confirm or deny that yet?
Yes, we are getting a new one in
Okay.
Lexington. I have heard that it is going to be mid to late September is when the opening, so you're not even gonna have to wait that
Soon.
long.
Okay.
Yes, very soon, and it's gonna be in a great location because it's gonna be right next to the Publix on Georgetown Road.
Oh, so like the north end of town then.
Yes, on the north end of town, and like I
Okay.
said, you can do your grocery shopping, you can pick up some barbecue all in one spot, so it'll be a great way to go. But as far as tasting the barbecue, I always recommend coming in and sitting down for a complimentary tasting with me. They are free, so you don't have to pay an arm and a leg to come taste everything. And then you don't even just taste the stuff that you're interested in. We taste everything on the menu. So it's a unique opportunity just at that, right? How often do you get to taste everything on a menu at one of your favorite restaurants? But it's also an excellent way to taste everything side by side and really compare and contrast what you like, what you think would be a good fit for your big day. And I recommend to clients all the time, whether you're interested in barbecue and you're comparing barbecue joints, or you're not sure if barbecue is the right fit for you, to come in and taste it. Just just taste it. You might be surprised, and then also not all barbecue is created equal, right? So, we take a lot of pride in our slow smoked award-winning barbecue, and, we love to sample it to people. We love to get them hooked and make fans out of them.
In Lexington, we have the Richmond Road location, which is at Manowar Richmond Road. And then we also have the Harrodsburg Road location.
Correct.
When you do and then of course the new location that's coming. And then whenever you do a tasting, which location do you typically do that at, or do you do it at both of them? How does that work?
Typically, I do my tastings at Harrodsburg Road. Transparently, I live right in between the Lexington and the Louisville markets. So the Harrodsburg Road one is farther west, and then in the Louisville market, the Hurstbourne store is farther east. So I kind of do my tastings there, but that does not mean they're the only places that I do my tastings. I have people request special tasting times or places or dates all the time, and I can be really flexible with my schedule because I am solely focused on taking care of weddings and wedding clients. So I've done many tastings at the Richmond Road location if that is more convenient for someone. Same thing with the Poplar Level Road, and I'm sure I will be in the new restaurant at some point doing a tasting as well.
For the tasting, obviously, we recommend the couple attend, if possible, both of them. Do you recommend maybe like if a parent is paying the bill that they also attend, or like how many people are allowed to come to the tasting?
So definitely, if you have another party that is paying for your catering, I absolutely recommend you bring them. Just as a pretty frugal shopper myself, I think that you should always know exactly what you're spending your money on, and weddings aren't cheap, right? So every part of wedding planning is a large investment, and you should definitely get to enjoy and try what that money is going towards. Typically, I ask people to keep it to four for a tasting.
Okay.
So the couple, and then sometimes people bring parents, sometimes they bring members of their wedding party. That's okay too. But I can stretch that up to six if people want to bring both sets of parents. And really, the only reason that we try to limit the amount of people is because the more people you have there, the more opinions you have there.
Mhm.
And what we don't want is for our couple's voice to get overshadowed by their guests at the tasting. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to be looking at the couple saying, what do you like? What tastes the best to you? So that is the only reason that we try to limit it a little bit. But I can absolutely be flexible with that as well.
That's just like the dress fitting. It's the
Yes.
same reason we try to keep it lower for that. Obviously, you can do the wedding day, but you also do a lot of rehearsal dinners. I would say as many rehearsal dinners, if not more, than the wedding day? Do you think that's probably pretty equal?
Yeah, we love doing rehearsal dinners. And there are other meals, right? There are you got rehearsal dinners. We've done a lot of engagement parties,
Mm.
bridal showers, even couples showers. We're doing a bachelor party here in a few weeks. And then we also can do day after brunches. So we're really not picky about which part of your wedding celebration you'd like us to be a part of. But rehearsals are very, very popular, especially because I've seen more and more people doing their rehearsal dinners at a brewery or a
Mhm.
distillery. And so, what goes better with your beer or with your bourbon than some really, really great barbecue? And barbecue is it's a little bit more of that casual food. So sometimes people like the idea of doing that for the rehearsal. However, sometimes people see how dressed up it can be and they were like, actually, I think we want to do this for the wedding. And then we've actually had several people this year that have used us for both.
And so when they use you for both, is it probably more casual for rehearsal dinner and then more elevated for the wedding day?
Yes. So typically
Okay.
we'll see a delivery and setup or a city classic for the rehearsal, and then we'll see them do that city signature for the wedding day. And what's really cool is because we have so many different menu options, we can do completely different menus. So you're not having the same food 2 days in a row. So sometimes that looks like doing a taco nacho bar for the rehearsal dinner and then doing a big full barbecue spread with brisket and turkey and smashed potatoes and green beans for the wedding. Or sometimes people want like barbecue and sides for both, but they've realized that we have so many yummy options that they will just pick completely different menu items for both events. And it can just be a lot of fun getting to celebrate with somebody for most of their wedding weekend. And we will oftentimes try to send the same caterers as well. Once the caterers come on site, they can, develop a relationship with you, with your family, with your group. And then we want to see those same caterers on site the next day if we can, because it's just going to make you feel more at ease.
I know a lot of couples also do Keeneland tailgating for their out of town guests on, a lot of times either the Thursday or the Friday morning leading into the weekend. If a couple wants to work with City BBQ on that, are you the contact for that, or would there be another salesperson that would be the contact since it's not technically a wedding, but it kind of is?
So what I would consider that would be like a wedding welcome party. And if we're considering it a welcome party for your wedding, then that's definitely me. I would absolutely
Okay.
be the person to handle that. Now, when it starts to transfer over into someone else is when we're talking business catering, birthday
Okay.
parties, things of that nature. So I always say that I handle everything in the genre of love. So if it's to do
Okay.
with you, your wedding day, your wedding weekend, your wedding guests, then I'm your girl.
Okay. And you mentioned brunch. I actually had not thought about City Barbecue for like a Sunday morning brunch, and brunch is very popular for couples, especially if they have a lot of guests coming in from out of town. They want to send guests off with a hearty meal. What are some of the foods that you would feed for brunch?
Well, I think that where we really kind of got the idea and where some of our guests got the idea too is it all hinges on the smoked bacon and the smoked sausage, right?
Okay.
So those are kind of our cornerstone as far as when we're doing a brunch. And then we've done so many different kinds of brunch. It really depends on if they are leaning more towards a breakfasty brunch or a lunchy brunch. But I think some of my favorite ones that we've done, smoked bacon, smoked sausage, can actually do like scrambled eggs. We've done big fruit spreads. We've also done things like bagels or donuts or pastries. Now, of course, we are not making pastries at the barbecue restaurant, but we can definitely outsource those and grab some yummy pastries and make like a really, really great spread for, like you said, to send people off with a hearty meal.
If this all sounds great, but someone is wondering how much this is going to cost because it sounds like it's going to cost a lot. And just like you talked about, your wedding is an investment. every proposal is going to be customized based on the couple. But can you give us like a starting point for the different types of just on the wedding day service?
Yes. So, like you said, it does kind of vary a little bit depending on exactly what it is that you're wanting. But each of our service levels do hit at a different price point. And when I'm telling people the difference between pricing, I use our two meats, two sides package as a good starting point, and that kind of gives them an idea of what a dinner spread would look like in each one of those service levels. The other thing that I should mention is that when we give a price per guest, unlike sometimes other caterers, we include all of the fees. So we are including service fees, we're including delivery, we're including tax, and our orders also include the tip built in as well. So these numbers include all of your additional fees. There's not like a number that I'm going to give and then there's an extra 10 or 15% tacked on. But the delivery and setup for a two meats, two sides is going to start around $19 per person with everything included. Then the City Classic is going to be around $24 per person with all of your fees included. And then the City Signature is going to start around 28 per person with that two meats, two sides. So like you were saying earlier, the jump between these service levels is really not that big of a difference. So when you're talking about like, oh, do I want to go with one or do I want to go with the other? Sometimes you're literally talking about a $400 to $500 difference. That's kind of a good starting point. Now, if you're wanting to add brisket or you're wanting to add appetizers or drinks or dessert. So that's kind of where the pricing starts to fluctuate because everyone's event is a little bit different. So being able to customize that and tailor it to an individual's event is very handy, but it makes me unable to be able to give people a definite price. So I always say the best way to get good pricing is to let me build you a custom quote. I've got a very easy quote request form that you fill out and kind of check mark the things that you want to see and leave off the things that you don't want to see. And then I can build one custom for you. And then we can always adjust it from there. That's absolutely the way to get the best custom pricing.
And whenever I used to have my storefront, Doug Smith would always do his meetings there. And he would be like, okay, let's dream big. Let's start with the top number and then see if that fits into the budget. And if it doesn't, then let's start from, and go back from there.
Exactly.
And I think that would be the same for you. Let's dream big. And then if that's too big, let's talk about what is most important. Occasionally I will have couples be like, I want to spend $15 a person. And I'm like, let's be realistic. Where can you go in today's world and have a fast food meal for $15? I can't eat at Chick-fil-A for less than $15 in the drive-thru at this point.
Right.
So you have to be realistic whenever you hear $19 and you're like, oh, that's so expensive. It's really not, because you are literally bringing the food on site for people. And just start thinking about and start when you're going to restaurants, looking at the price of things. When you're going through a drive-through, my Starbucks drink is over $7 now for one drink. And so I don't go that much anymore. But things are just different now than they used to be.
Yes.
If you think that you are going to be able to feed your wedding guests for $12 to $15, you can probably feed them cake and punch for that, realistically. And that's okay. If that's all you have to budget for that, that's okay. And please do not spend more than you need to just to be able to feed your guests.
But it's important to note though that like you will have caterers who will tell you that they can feed you for 12 to $15 per person, but oftentimes that is before fees. Right. So that is before they add labor. That's before they add tax or delivery. And most caterers are not building in a tip. So again, you're looking at another expense. How many caterers are they bringing? How much should you tip? All of that has to be factored into your total costs. So sometimes the difference between my pricing and other caterers' pricing is that we build that all in upfront, and it makes it a little bit more transparent as far as what your final investment will be.
Do you also have a service fee, or is it just a gratuity?
So we do have a 3% service fee, and that's for taxes, insurance, things like that. But that 3% service fee shows up on our staffed events. So that is City Classic and City Signature.
What is the gratuity amount that is automatically added on?
So for City Classic, it is 15% gratuity. And I tell my clients our caterers are happy with that. They're fine with that. And then for City Signature, it is 18. I always joke and say that that extra 3% gratuity is for us having to haul those heavy cast irons.
That's fair. I don't know if you're allowed to answer this question. Does that actually go to the staff?
Yes. So that
Okay.
15% and that 18%, that is actually a real tip that goes straight to the caterers that work your event. City BBQ doesn't get a cut. Tony doesn't get a cut. So that goes right to their pockets. So it is absolutely they are tipped out. They are good. I joke and say they are service people. So if somebody tries to give them additional cash, of course they'll take it. But that tip goes directly to them.
That's awesome. And two, like, if it is a wedding day and you are outside in a tent in July, please consider adding additional tip to that because they are working extra hard. And especially if you're at a venue that does not have running water and you've brought all of that in, just think about your element. Again, they're literally bringing the entire kitchen and restaurant to you. As far as the team on the wedding day, what do they typically wear?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned in a tent in July because they are wearing all black. So I do love our catering team's uniform because they look very sharp. They look very professional. And that's another thing I tell the clients when they are considering different barbecue places.
Yes.
Ask a caterer what they wear on the day of, because sometimes we will see barbecue caterers showing up to a formal event in blue jeans and a shirt that says, I like pork butts. You know what I mean? Yes.
Is that real?
That is real. That's a real story. So our caterers show up in black pants, black shoes, black chef coats, and black chef hats. So they are very sharp. They're very professional looking. And I tell people you'll know it's them because they come on site looking like City Barbecue ninjas because they're all dressed in black and they are working stealthily.
Nothing makes my heart happier than a wedding vendor in all black on a wedding
Of
day, just to be
course.
honest. Shannon and I recorded a podcast just this week, and we both showed up in black dresses, all black, hoop earrings, and we both had on tan shoes. I'm like, well, you can tell we're wedding vendors.
Yep. Yeah.
We've talked about your different types of buffet options and service options that you have. Do you have any type of a plated option or a family style option, or is buffet just what you do best?
Buffet is certainly our bread and butter. That
Okay.
is what all of our service levels include. We've had people ask us if we can do plated or if we can do family style. And really, the thing is that we don't have formal training for that.
Okay.
And we've never done it before. So I tell people we do not want to experiment on the biggest day of your
Okay.
life so far. So what we know and what we are good at is buffet catering. And so we really, really hone our skills in that department so that we can be top of class in buffet catering. So all of those service levels are buffets.
Okay. Good to know. And then like stations. Do you offer stations?
Yes, we do offer
Okay.
stations. They are pretty popular. So we've actually got an event coming up in October where somebody is kind of having more of like a block party carnival kind of vibe to their event. And
Okay.
they just couldn't live without separate satellite stations around the room. And they certainly
Okay.
came to the right place. We can do lots of different stations, including but not limited to salad stations. We can do just a standalone carving station, mac and cheese station, smashed potato station. We've got s'mores bars, caramel apple bars. a lemonade stand, and I think we've also got like a smoked corn bar as well. So we've got lots and lots of different ways that you can have satellite stations around the room and make it a lot of fun. And this can do a couple different things. You can have many different options for your guest. It creates more of an interactive experience because they're walking around the room, kind of touching each one of these little stations. So it's a different experience at each one. And then it also can have an added benefit of if you do have a really large guest count, now you're not having to worry about people standing in line or necessarily releasing tables because everybody's going to kind of gravitate towards different stations. It can kind of open up the possibility of not having any kind of formal everybody stands in line and waits for food, and so that kind of reduces any ideas of like bottlenecks or anything like that.
You walked me into two great questions. One, whatever, for example, if I'm working on a couple's timeline that is working with you, because just to plug here, I can work with a couple on their day of timeline. That is part of the free services that I offer because of awesome vendors like City BBQ. How long do you recommend that I leave? We'll say the wedding is 150 guests. How long would you recommend that I leave in the timeline for the guests to get through the buffet line?
150 guests through the buffet line. It depends on a couple variables. So it
Okay.
depends on if you're wanting a served buffet or if you're wanting a self-serve buffet, if you're wanting it single-sided or double-sided. So we could potentially get 150 guests through a double-sided buffet line in 30 to 45 minutes.
Okay.
A served buffet usually takes a little bit longer, but not that
Okay.
much. So you're looking at closer to 45 minutes to potentially an hour. And then we always leave the buffets up for a little bit longer than that so that people can come back and get seconds as well.
For drinks, you mentioned your lemonade stand. You also have sweet tea, which is phenomenal, unsweet tea. You obviously do water. Do you offer any other drinks on the wedding day, or is that pretty much it?
We do offer other drinks other than just the
Okay.
tea, lemonade, and water. Now, we do not offer any kind of bar services. So we do not handle anything alcoholic. We don't provide it. We don't offer to handle it. So we just do non-alcoholic beverages. But sometimes people get really excited, especially in the fall, to find out that we can do things like hot cocoa. We could do coffee and apple cider. So those things are really fun for that time of year. And then additionally, we can do soda, we can do bottled water, we can do other things as well. And a little bit flexible as long as it is in the non alcoholic realm. We're going to leave that part to your bartender because they are licensed and trained to handle that element of service.
Okay. What are some of the venues that maybe already have a bar that you go to a lot? I know here in Lexington, like the Thoroughbred Center, Harper Hall, Chenault Vineyards, the Talon, we've got Castle and Key, the Clear Story, like Dana Brook out in Harrodsburg, Mustard Seed. What are some more maybe outside of Lexington that I wouldn't be as familiar with?
Yeah, so we cater at the Gillespie and Pasolinos. Those are kind of in the heart of downtown Louisville. The Gallery in LaGrange, and Phillips Grove in Radcliffe. And then also, I think the Refinery also has a bar as well
Okay.
that's in
Yep.
southern Indiana. So there are several. Oh, the Gatsby in Shelbyville also has a really cute bar.
Okay.
So there are lots of places that we cater at that just already have a bar or they already have that kind of stuff set up. So they don't need their caterer to provide any kind of alcoholic beverages. Like I said, we let them specialize in that while we specialize in the food part.
If you are going somewhere that you do need a bartender or a bar, I can absolutely help you find someone for that if you want to use Antonia for food. And then if a couple does a tasting with you and they want to book and they move forward, what are deposits? How does payment work?
So the deposit for City Classic and City Signature is $500. Just flat $500. It's not based on a percentage or anything like that. That 500 goes towards your total and is kind of what secures your date. We also sign a contract. And then you technically don't have any other money due until the final payment. The final payment is due 17 days before the event. And the reason for that is because you are actually able to change your menu and your guest count up to 20 days before the event. So you are able to really narrow down that guest count, get your RSVPs back, and gives you plenty of time to get all of your details together and your final requests before we do final payment.
That's crazy because usually you are setting your menu in stone uh, much further in advance than that. And
Right.
two, the 20 days ahead of time, that's pretty standard. And two, whenever a couple is working on their RSVP date, I usually recommend, like, if 20 days is your time frame for when you need to know, I would add an extra 10 days to the RSVP date because you are going to have to track down guests regardless, especially like me being from Southern Kentucky. We don't always RSVP, and I'm the worst at RSVPing. I'm one that you have to track down. I'm really sorry about that. But just plan ahead. If it's 20 days or 7 days, whatever it is, add an extra 10 days because you will have to track people down. Talking about payment, a lot of small businesses have to add credit card processing fees. Is that something where City BBQ is a little bigger than most of us small businesses that you are able to eliminate those, or do you also have to charge those?
Absolutely. We do have our own payment processing, so we do not require any kind of payment fee or anything like that. Credit card is usually the easiest, but people also have the option to pay by check or pay in cash if they prefer, but no credit card processing fees.
I know I like to play the credit card points game. I'm going to have a podcast on that really soon because I am all about traveling for free. And I know a lot of couples do credit cards for the wedding, and then they realize that there are a lot of fees involved too. So I always like to ask that and know ahead of time, and just kind of give them the heads up that there may be fees for that.
Absolutely.
And then when it comes to booking, I know that we are definitely seeing a lot more last minute bookings than we have ever seen before. Is there a cutoff for when you can book a wedding, or does it depend on how many you already have booked for a certain date? Like, how does that work with City Barbecue?
Right. So typically we see people booking anywhere from 6 months to a year out for their catering. I know some caterers, it's a little bit longer than that, but that's what our average of what we see is somewhere between 6 months to a year. But the real answer on is if there is a requirement, there is not. So I have had people book 3 months till their wedding. I've had people book 1 month to their wedding. And I've also had people hit me up a couple weeks beforehand and book their weddings. So while that makes me nervous to pieces, we can absolutely do that. And the only limitations are, like you said, availability. So it really depends on if we have anything else going on that day, because of course, City Barbecue also does other kinds of catering as well. I do not necessarily work with those clients, but we do have birthday parties and business events and stuff like that. So if we have the availability for it, we'll slide you in there. We'll get you taken care of. So I recommend to my clients, especially those with bigger guest counts, book as soon as you feel comfortable, just because you don't want to run down to the wire and then all of a sudden we don't have that availability anymore. Because of course, wedding days usually require a bit more staff than just your typical business drop off order for 30 people, right? So definitely just booking as soon as you feel comfortable is always going to be the best game plan for your nerves, for your anxiety, for your peace of mind.
If a couple meets with you, say a year before the wedding, and they pay their deposit, and at that point they think they're going to have 175 guests, Then when they circle back to you 20 days before the wedding, they're at 135 guests. I know there are several vendors that you can't necessarily decrease the number of guests. Is that something they can do with you? Or should they start at 135 and go up 20 days out?
Not only can they absolutely can, but I see that happen more often than not. Because typically when I am hosting tastings with my clients, I tell them, let's go for the big number. Let's go for the biggest, scariest quote, like you were talking about. And if it's too big, too scary, we can always walk it back. But if we can go after the biggest number or the amount that they are inviting, then they can be prepared for the costs no matter what. If 100% of their guests shows up, then they already know what the costs are going to be. However, you and I know 100% of your guests never show up. So they are absolutely able to decrease their guest count up to that 20-day point. And sometimes it is really, really nice. How often do you have a wedding bill that comes in at the end that is less than what you initially thought? So sometimes that can be a little bit of a relief and a little bit of a break for folks when they do get those RSVPs back and their catering total is a little bit less than they initially thought it was going to be.
And if it's a little bit less, then they can leave a little bit more tip. Just throw that in there. What is the biggest size wedding that you have actually been in charge of since you've been the catering manager?
I think right around 300. So that's the biggest one that I have been in charge of. I have heard that before me, there were some that were a little bit over 300. But 300 is kind of, and we've done a few of them at this point that are right around that 300 mark. Which is a crazy big guest count for a wedding, to me at least. Maybe other people feel different, but that is kind of what we see on the larger end.
And I always start my podcast with asking the guests to share a little bit about their background. And somehow I just jumped right in because I was so excited to talk about barbecue. You have actually been with City BBQ for some time now.
Yes. So I have been with City BBQ since 2017.
Okay.
So I am eight years going on. It'll be 9 next year. So the first 5 of those, I actually was one of the managers at the restaurant. So I have been doing the wedding portion for the past 3 to 4 years, going on my 4th year, for doing the wedding bit for City BBQ. So I get a lot of my food knowledge and a lot of my barbecue knowledge because I was trained to be a pit boss when I was in the restaurants. So when I'm talking to people about the barbecue for their wedding catering, I get it honest. I'm a little bit of a barbecue nerd. I know how it's cooked. I know how it's prepared. So it kind of gives them a little bit more insight into the food that they're tasting. It's not just, oh, this is good food. They know how long it's been smoked. They know the different parts of the brisket. They know why they see pink in their barbecue. So I give them a lot of barbecue knowledge when I am showing them through the food.
I know that you are going to be at the Bridal Bliss Classic Summer Show coming up on August the 24th at Clear Story. Are there any Louisville shows that you're going to be at this fall or any other wedding shows you'll be at?
I am trying to work on getting into some fall shows as well because of course the Bridal Bliss is going to be kind of at the end of summer, and then of course January, February, that's bridal show season. So I find that sometimes bridal shows in the fall are kind of few and far between. And there's good reason for that, right? You need wedding vendors for a bridal show, and wedding vendors are usually all out doing the thing during the fall. But I've got one inquiry in for one, and it's at the beginning of November. I don't have anything set in stone yet, so I don't want to mention it, but we are going to try to get some fall shows going this year as well.
And I always try to share anytime I know that a studio vendor is going to be in a wedding show. I do try to share that on my social media as well, because that's just another time for couples to get the opportunity to meet you, to try some of your food. Like I said, I never would have eaten smoked sausage from anybody else and actually really liked it. So I always encourage couples to attend wedding shows because it's your time to try things that you never would have tried before.
And at this one in August, we are bringing the nacho samples back. So
We had those at the bridal show at the Manchester Reserve maybe 6, 8 weeks ago at this
Yep.
point, and they were so good. So I'm here for those. I'm very excited about that. And then if somebody wants to try the new mac and cheese, is it the new mac and cheese in store as well that you would be serving at a wedding?
Yes. So the mac and cheese at the restaurant is the same mac and cheese that would be served for catering, and it is live in all of our restaurants.
And by somebody, I mean me, obviously.
Yeah.
But Antonia, thank you so much for joining me. It is so obvious in just talking to you today and every day how passionate you are about City BBQ. I love that you love your job. I love that you love couples. Anytime I send a couple to you, they always rave about you. They love how streamlined it is, how easy you are to work with, and just how honest you are with them. That's what I want. That's the feedback I want from my couples. And I always know that they're in good hands with you.
Thank you so, so much for those kind words. I definitely use a lot of my experience from planning my own wedding, and experiences that I loved or did not love from wedding vendors, and I try to incorporate that in how I do things. So definitely the impact and the impression that I make on my clients is heads and tails above the most important thing that I want to do.
And then if a couple wants to reach out to you to get more pricing, or to schedule a tasting, how would they go about doing that?
A few different ways. If you put in a catering inquiry on City Barbecue's website, if you select that you are in that Kentucky market, when you put in that inquiry, it actually comes straight to my inbox. It doesn't get filtered through a bunch of other people. It just comes directly to me. You can also reach out to me on Wedding Pro. So that's the Knot, Wedding Wire. We're also on Zola now as well. Or feel free to just hit me up directly. My email address is ahansford@citybbq.com. I guess I should specify that's citybbq.com. And if after you email me, you can text me, call me, we can connect in whatever way works best for you and your schedule.
And I will say, as we're going into fall wedding season, I always tell my couples to be patient on those email responses. Usually the 48 hours, don't get in a tizzy before that point. And especially know weekends in the fall are the busiest for wedding vendors. So please be patient. Please be kind. Please give them a minute and know that they are going to give you as much devotion when it comes to your wedding weekend as they're giving those current couples. But Antonia, thank you again. And I will share more information, more pictures from City BBQ. I'm excited to see the pictures from the giveaway wedding, and we will absolutely have you back on whenever City BBQ does another giveaway. And we'll cross my fingers that somebody from our market wins next time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Sarah.
For more information about Simply Love Studio or to schedule your wedding consultation, go to simplylovestudio.com.